Well, it wouldn't be a return from break without some hiccups, everybody. How's everybody doing? Y'all ready to close out the year 2024? Excited about 2025? It's coming. Be here in a few days. How's everybody doing? My name is Stuart Davis, a flawed man of God, a humble parishioner at a small church just outside of Richmond, Virginia. I'm not a pastor. I'm not a biblical scholar. I haven't been to seminary. I'm not trying to get you to join my church or donate to any special cause. What I'm here to do is talk about God, talk about Jesus, talk about the Holy Spirit, talk about the Bible, talk about Christianity, talk about a wide variety of different topics, issues, and current events, and give you my perspective on them. One that I think is reflective of your average Christian guy. So here we are at it. Return from Christmas. Nostalgic for that intro. Alex, are you ecstatic or nostalgic for the intro music or me talking? It's okay. We all know you've missed me. Me. I am a 41-year non-denominational Protestant. I don't subscribe to any particular doctrine or denomination. I'm just in the Word daily, trying to do it better each and every day. Sometimes I'll get it right. Sometimes I'll get it wrong. But no matter what, if you're catching this stream, if you're listening to my voice, you can count on getting my honest takes on whatever it is that we are discussing. So, if you are somebody who is new to Christianity, if you are somebody who is interested in becoming a Christian, maybe you've been contemplating it, maybe you want to take that next step, maybe you want to embrace what you feel is missing in your life, but you are reticent, nervous, scared. It's a big step. Look, some people say, no, you just need to cast that aside and just jump straight in. And hey, if that works for you, and it does work for people, fine. But it is understandable to have those feelings when you're talking about something as big as your faith, your trust, your beliefs. You're giving that into someone that you can't tangibly witness. And I'm not saying that you can't witness God in the things that you see around you, but like have him just come right out of the sky and say, hey, I'm God, believe in me. Everything that the Christians teach is correct. It's never going to be that easy. And so I understand it. It's a big step. For some folks it's easy. Others it's hard. If that's difficult for you, if you're feeling doubts, and if you feel that you are not good enough, that you won't be a good Christian, that you're not going to be able to have the faith that is expected of you. Look, you can't be sure until you've tried. Something is calling you to this. And if you want motivation, if that's why you came here, for some sort of reassurance, then I'll get that out of the way right now. I want you to try. I want you to continue doing what it is, which is pursuing Christ. If you are interested in honestly, diligently, faithfully, and obediently pursuing Christ, then you're on the right track already. And you might be surprised that you've already gone farther than a lot of people will ever do in their lives. So keep it up. I'm rooting for you. I'm praying for you. Folks in the chat, rooting for you, praying for you. All of Christendom should be rooting for you and praying for you, because that's what we want. We want you to join us. We want you to be part of this. We want you to have that salvation that was provided to you from Christ's sacrifice. I want you to be able to partake in it. It's there for you. And sure, I'm sure you've done some terrible things, and you're not going to be perfect afterwards. Neither is anybody else. Neither is anybody else who is sitting in that church with you. So keep it up. Keep it up. Don't be scared. Pursue it. Do it honestly. Give it the real chance, and I promise you won't be disappointed. Now, if you are already a Christian and you just enjoy Christian topics, discussions, not debates. This is not a debate show. Topics and discussions, the conversations. Then welcome as well. I think you'll like it here. It's very relaxed and informal. So informal, I had my robe laying on the chair. It's very relaxed, informal, layperson approach. This is not. We're not. Trying to flesh out what Greek and Hebrew mean. We don't. They're not expected to understand those languages. I certainly don't speak a lick of either of them. We're just here to talking about the faith. And we run this very similar to a Wednesday night study group or a Sunday school. It's a very small group approach. It's a very small group tonight. I only see Veritax and Alex in here because it's that time of the season where those of us with a lot to do and a lot that we're responsible for can get pulled in many directions at once, whether it be personally or professionally. And I hope that the crew is all enjoying the remnants of yet another birthday celebration of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. But if this is your first time here, settle in. Don't care if you're new to Christianity or if you're just seeking it out, or if you've been in it longer than me, you're more mature in your faith than me, you're smarter than your faith than me, or if you're in somewhere in between. I want to hear from you. So get in the chat. Chat's a very important part of this stream. You're part of the show as well. I just host it. I just put my face on it, and I do the talking out loud. But that's not to say that what you have to say isn't welcome or encouraged. I would love to hear from you guys. And it's very easy to do. We're a small enough group. If you put something in that chat box, I will read it and I will respond to it. No problem. So put your 2 cents worth in. What do you agree with or disagree with? Where do you think I'm right? Where do you think I'm wrong? What unique insight, experience you have that perhaps we haven't talked about, or maybe you just want to add on to. Maybe you just want to add on to something someone else said. Share your opinion. Ask questions. I might not have the answer for them or answer to them, but we could talk about your question and maybe point you in the right direction. Maybe one of the fine folks in this chat has the answer or knows where to find it. So, without further ado, we're going to talk about Proverbs tonight. Proverbs 29, once again. But, hey, how was everybody's Christmas? Mine was pretty good. I know my children's Christmas should have been fantastic considering all the stuff they got. He said, looking directly at his son, who's got his back to him right now. I know you hear me. Yeah. We'll see. Veritax was first. Alex Moore second. Veritax said he missed your talk about. Who wouldn't miss that? Last stream before the new year, probably. What is it? Yeah, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. Maybe do a stream on the 2nd. We'll see. I got a very special guest I'm going to be having on this show in the very near future. And we'll see how that goes. Alex says, mine was great. I had Christmas Eve and Christmas off. Big rarity. Good for you. Gift cards. Hey, spend it up. Nico saying Christmas was great. Lady at church made you some homemade jam. Ooh, homemade. That's good stuff. That's a very good. Look, especially they can make it right, it's better than anything you're going to buy at the store. Only thing that comes close is if you get the right place at the farmer's market. Again, can't be all the super heavy mass-produced stuff. You got to get the homemade stuff. Things were well here. Some things that popped up in this under the Christmas tree was a 3D printer. 3D printer and a giant, not under the tree, but out in the yard, a giant bounce house. All that stuff was set up for them. But now I get to go through. So the 3D printer wasn't for me, though I'm sure I'll be using it. I will not be told what not to print on a 3D printer. This is America. But the 3D printer was a gift for my son. But I've never 3D printed anything before. He's never 3D printed anything before. And this is a Warhammer figures. That's a given. That is a given. Warhammer figures will be printed. But it's a resin printer. So while they're super detailed and super fast compared to the filament, they are very messy. And there's a lot of, I guess, drama that comes along with those. So we got to get a respirator. We got to get respirators. We got to get isopropyl alcohol. Got to build a curing station. We got a lot. We still got a ways to go, but we got a nice, well, hence the respirator and the goggles and the nitrile gloves. But it's a nice 12K. It's the, what is it? Elegoo Saturn 3. Did I get that right? Is the Elegoo Saturn 3? Yeah. So very excited. Again, this is something that this is a cool hobby. I think it's a hobby that he'll enjoy. He wants to learn how to start creating his own, uh, creating his own models to and things to create. I'm just excited about printing my own Warhammer, my own Warhammer figures. Yes, and the first thing we are looking at is a Pokemon chess set. That's the first thing he's looking at 3D printing, which looks pretty cool. We looked at the slices. He's using Chi2 Box. Chi2 Box is the software for it. Just don't go asking for an FBI visit. They don't have a long way to drive. You know. The good news is my FBI guy gets plenty of this stream to listen to. So if he wasn't already a believer, hopefully he is now. Maybe Nico's my FBI guy. Nico. Are you my FBI guy? Got to paint them all. That's funny. Well, he's going to have to paint them all white. Well, they're going to have to paint half of them white and half of them black. So anyway, so that was the big thing. They had fun. The bounce house was a big hit. They were playing in that about every single day until it started raining around here. So hopefully pull that back out tomorrow. And my big thing is, where am I going to store this thing? My youngest, she got a spring loaded rocking horse and a little roller coaster ride thing. It's you sit on a cart that's like this, right? And she sits on it, and it's just like this, I would say 7-foot long piece of plastic. It's like made by Play School or I think it's step 1, step 2, or something like that. And it just kind of slopes down. So she's a bit of a daredevil. So yeah, step 2. She's a bit of a daredevil, but we haven't been able to put it outside yet. So we'll see how she does with that. She's enjoyed the bounce house as well. Just weird. It's just weird to me having a bounce house. It wasn't much more expensive than a trampoline. Which I had as a kid. But you know, it's like you're at the fair normally when the kids go into the bounce house. But the packing up thing is going to be, whew. Like those things you put in a quarter. No. Like, think of a rocking horse, but it's got a metal base, and the base. Will you stop? It's got a metal base that with poles that come up, and the poles are attached to the horse with springs, and so you rock, and the springs go each way. If you can picture what I'm talking about. So hopefully you guys had a very good Christmas. Hopefully you guys went to a Christmas Eve service or a Christmas Day service. Ours was okay. Ours was okay. It's just, it's such a blessing to be up on Christmas Eve and celebrating, what we're not going through the whole list of things that you got. Go occupy yourself. Celebrating Jesus's birthday. Now you can argue, people can argue whether it's the accurate day or not. It doesn't matter. What is the what is the spirit in which we are? What is the thing that we are celebrating? The arrival of Christ, the fulfillment of prophecy, the birth of our Savior, and what will culminate when we celebrate his resurrection on Easter Sunday. It's a very special thing. And one of the things I love about a candlelight service, especially whether it's a large church or a small church, when everybody's there together and you see all the candles lit and everybody singing, it's special. It hits you about how great it is that people aren't taking that for granted. Maybe there's not as many people as there were 100 years ago celebrating, or there's a lower percentage of people celebrating than there were 100 years ago. Doesn't matter. The church still exists, and it's still grateful. And we understand that we are blessed. Blessed beyond what we have a right to expect. We are loved. And that there is grace. So, yeah. Let's get into the show. All right. So, Vertex said, wait. The story goes down. So today our groceries got lost. Neighbor found some of them. Okay. I'm guessing you were getting delivered. Who delivered them? Then I realized we had 4 jugs of OJ, all no pulp. I like some pulp. Not to be like, what's his face off of Sopranos, but some pulp. I asked the eldest to help drink some. He doesn't like no pulp. It's basically Kool-Aid. That's what it feels like. You know what it is? It's not Sunkissed. Sunny Delight. It's basically Sunny D. So I asked the daughter. She doesn't like OJ. She just uses it with a certain supplement she has to take. So they started to argue over which OJ we should buy in the future. And I put my hand down and said, "Kids, I'm sorry to disappoint. I am not pulpist. I just can't drink OJ often because of the high sugar count. I can't drink it. It's always Walmart. I can't drink it I can't drink it much because I have GERD, and that and the pizza I just ate with the tomato paste, highly acidic things, set it off like a rocket. So I get a lot of reflux. Yeah, acid and acid. But acid trip. Not a drug induced one, just a heartburn induced one. But yeah, my only question is Walmart was like, what do you think? What are these folks thinking when they're bagging the groceries? I bagged groceries as a kid. But you get things like it's a box of toothpaste. Like you get a box of toothpaste and it's in a bag all by itself. Sometimes it's just very wasteful on the plastic bags. Oh, it's okay. We have neighbors where people constantly come to our house that are looking for the neighbor's house just because of how it appears, I guess. If you don't know, call. Yeah. Don't tell me to double bag this. Look, put other things in there. I don't need a bag with just the toothpaste. I'm getting 30 bags of groceries. There could probably be 18 of them. All right. Off topic stuff. Glad we're filtering in and got some folks tuning in. Let's get into where we were. Where did I leave off? It's been so off and on. Not broke. We didn't do broken tooth. Let your foot seldom be in your neighbor's house. We didn't do that. Did we just do the first 5? $15 sounds familiar. No, we can't be that far because it's like apples of gold and settings of silver. We didn't talk about that. I think we only did the first 5. No, I think we went through 7. Do not be boastfully ambitious and claim honor in the presence of the king, and do not stand before in the place of great men. For it is better that it be said to you, come up here, than for you to be placed lower in the presence of the prince whom your eyes have seen. I know we did 7. No, we did 6 and 7. Because they all we were talking about how they all ended up tying in. Matt Felty kind of did a really good job tying all that together. So let's start with 8, because 8 does not look familiar. All right. So Proverbs chapter 25, verse 8. Do not rush out to argue your case before magistrates or judges. Otherwise, what will you do in the end when your case is lost and when your neighbor or opponent humiliates you? Argue your case with your neighbor himself before you go to court, and do not reveal another's secret. Or he who hears it will shame you, and the rumor about you and your action in court will have no end. I think those 3 go together pretty well. So I think this has something to do with gather your thoughts, gather your wits. Don't rush out in the heat of things to plead your case and to get a judgment. And anybody 21st century says no to that, lol. Yeah, to their peril. This is actually something that they try to tell cops, that they try to tell. Hang on. They try to tell people in positions where you're going to be giving an account in court on a regular basis. Cops, when they're involved in a shooting, a lot of times they will be advised, hey, collect your thoughts. Don't, tell us kind of what happened, but don't try to say something. Don't try to fill in the blanks. If you're not sure, don't be sure. Don't act like you're sure. Give yourself some time to rehash the events in your mind and get your story straight. Because when something happens that is highly emotional, exciting, um, something along those lines, it might not be something as dire as you know shooting somebody. What's going on, Porcupine? It might be something where you got in an argument over a tree, over a property line, or whose tree belongs to who between you and a neighbor, since we're talking about neighbors here, or what your dog or their dog is doing on your property or their property. There might be a heated exchange. People get, I'm not immune from this either, obviously. People get upset and argumentative over the stupidest of things. Tensions can get high. Things can be said, don't know. But if it's something that's going to end up in court, you don't just want to run there and say, hey, you want to back up. Maybe hash it out with the guy you got a problem with to begin with. Talk to a lawyer. Make sure you are in the right. Don't just charge headlong into there, because maybe you are, maybe the luck will be on your side, maybe the law will be on your side, maybe the stars aligned and you just happen to be right. Maybe you're right, and maybe you don't argue it well enough. Maybe you're right in what happened, but you don't remember everything there. Maybe you don't. Maybe, oh, well, I haven't thought about that. You haven't tried to ponder what was going on. And then the other person has got their ducks in a row and they wipe the floor with you. There's all sorts of examples. I mean, you see them in, not to use media as an example, but you hear about it. You've seen it in the movies. The good person. They're in the right, but they're not sure of a bunch of other stuff. But you get a lawyer up, confusing them, asking questions, twisting their words around, making them unsure of themselves, and the next thing you know, they get railroaded. Or, as in 25-8, humiliated. Your neighbor humiliates you. Don't rush out to argue your case. Keep your own counsel. Maybe try to hash things out of court with your neighbor. Keep things as amicable as possible. Probably a more close to home example of this is in the workforce. You don't see it as much today. People are so quick to run to HR over the slightest disagreement. I have always been somebody in my upbringing, time in the military. You try to hash things out. If you've got a problem with a coworker, you try to hash things out with them one-on-one first before you get HR involved or before you get a manager involved. Say, hey, got an issue with this. Or, hey, I noticed that you've had an issue with me Can we talk about it? Maybe come to some sort of understanding. Maybe I need to work on. Maybe we both need to work on something. I had a coworker who ran to HR over everything, and we didn't get along all that great. And it was over silly things like my chair made too much noise. My office chair made too much noise, and she could hear it on the other side in her office. Maybe you've had that issue with a coworker before. Nobody wants to be in HR, especially over something petty. And you could run to HR and plead your case, and it might sound really dumb. And then maybe they don't take you seriously anymore because all the stuff you take to them is dumb. Alex saying, yeah, neighbors getting mad about a branch hanging over. Yeah, they do. At this house, my neighbor came over and said, hey, we're cutting this tree down. It should land on our property, but just so you know that it's coming down, so you don't freak out. But it might, there's a chance it might come down over there. Just want to make sure. At the time, we had goats. Um, make sure that they're clear of the area just in case something happened. Be good neighbors. Communicate, and it's a two-way street. You can be the nicest guy in the world or gal. So no, we have ladies like Jenny in the chat. You can be the nicest neighbor in the world, and they might not reciprocate. That's not a recipe for success. That's why so much of what we see here in God's commandments is about us all treating each other with respect. And trying to make disrespect taboo. Being unneighborly. Something to be considered shameful. You're not always going to run to those processes, but just make sure that you're the one in the right. If you're one in the wrong, make things good. So you don't get humiliated in court. Vertex said, I've had people get a manager involved, and I'm like, what did they say? Who was it? Oh, we can't tell you that confidential, because of confidentiality. Yeah. Sometimes, no, you know. We will bang instead for that promotion wins. Porcupine says the joke at my last job was that I was an HR nightmare. Too many years working in restaurants and kitchens to make for, or too many years working in restaurants and kitchens make for some potty humor. Yeah, true. It's just like me in the Army. But I knew how to play the game as a manager, though, and toe the line. Yeah, so you used to play the game as a manager, though, and toe the line. Always befriend the HR dorks. Yeah, make sure you don't cross it. Alex said, same. I'm based at work, but I know where the line is, and I feel the room. It's difficult for some. And if you can't read the room, Try to be aware enough. You can't read the room, just shut up. Don't say anything. Just mind your business. You're there for a paycheck. But hey, if you're getting called into HR, bring the handbook with you. Bring the handbook with you. I've done that before. All right. Do not reveal another's secret. I don't know what that means. What is it? Do not reveal. I don't know what that. I don't know where the and do not reveal another's secret comes from. Is that talking about confidentiality with your? I don't see where that fits in. I'm missing something on that in that verse contextually that I don't understand. Or he who hears it will shame you, and the rumor about you and your action in court will have no end. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I was just putting that together. Thank you for putting that together. We're putting this in the comment. It means don't blab about something you have no business saying. Yeah. Don't start running your mouth off about things, maybe even stuff that doesn't have anything to do with your case. People aren't going to like it if you just start airing out other people's secrets. Somebody told you something in confidence for a reason. You don't want to, as the Bible likes to say, become obnoxious to them. Thanks, Nernaev. Happy New Year and Merry Christmas, sir. I'm not getting into that right now. Look, Nernaev, if you don't receive or if you don't believe, St. Nicholas will slap you like Arius, like you're Arius. Okay. Always remember, everybody, Santa Claus is real. And he is a saint in the eyes of the church. All right, let's continue on. Let's see. Let's see how far this one goes. Like apples of gold and settings of silver is a word spoken at the right time. Like an earring of gold and an ornament of fine gold is a wise reprover to an ear that listens and learns. Like the cold of snow brought from the mountains in the time of harvest, so is a faithful messenger to those who send him, for he refreshes the life of his masters. Like clouds and wind without rain is a man who boasts falsely of gifts he does not give. By patient by patience and a calm spirit, a ruler may be persuaded, and a soft and gentle tongue breaks the bone of resistance. All right, I think these all tie together pretty well. I think that's a good break. Oh, that's right. They do the double. Okay, hold on. Ooh. Well, that's all together. Hmm. All right, we'll try to do this all together. Or we'll try to do this part right here. No, you know what? Screw it. We haven't had an episode in a while. So we're going to do it. All right. We'll reread 15 and then move in. By patience and a calm spirit, a ruler may be persuaded, and a soft and gentle tongue breaks the bones of the resistance. Have you found pleasure sweet like honey? Eat only as much as you need. Otherwise, being filled excessively, you vomit it. Let your foot seldom be in your neighbor's house, or he will become tired of you and hate you. Like a club and a sword and a piercing arrow is a man who testifies falsely against his neighbor or acquaintance. Like a broken tooth or an unsteady foot is confidence in an unfaithful man in time of trouble. Like one who takes off a garment in cold weather, or like a reactive, useless mixture of vinegar on soda, is he who thoughtlessly sings joyful songs to a heavy heart. If your enemy is hungry, give him bread to eat, and if he is thirsty, give him water to drink. For in doing so, you will heap coals of fire upon his head, and the Lord will reward you. The north wind brings forth rain, and a backbiting tongue, an angry countenance. It is better to live. It is better to live in a corner of the housetop on the flat roof, exposed to the weather, than in a house shared with a quarrelsome, contentious woman. Like cold water to a thirsty soul, so is good news from a distant land. Like a muddied fountain and a polluted spring is a righteous man who yields and compromises his integrity before the wicked. It is not good to eat much honey, nor is it glorious to seek one's own glory. Like a city that is broken down and without walls, leaving it unprotected, is a man who has no self control over his spirit and sets himself up for trouble. Just going to knock 25 out right there. All right, so these all kind of have to do with being measured, thoughtful, neighborly in your conduct. So we'll start it. Like apples of gold and settings of silver is a word spoken at the right time. Talk about some folks have a gift of knowing just what to say to somebody to pick them up, to lift them up at the right time. Sometimes you just know a person well enough that you know what is what's the right thing to say and when to say it. But this is not something you can force, guys. And I think we might get into something like that later on. You can't force this. You either know it's the right time or you don't. And if you don't, might be better to just hold off. But if you do, if you know right, if you feel like it's the right time and it's the right thing to say, if you know that person and you know what'll lift them up, it can be truly something very valuable. A gift, a real gift, one that Solomon here compares to gold. And I think that if you've ever been down and somebody's done that to you, or you've had a friend or a family member, maybe a stranger, down, and you've been able to do that, that you understand why Solomon describes it as such. Like an earring of gold and an ornament of fine gold is a wise reprover to an ear that listens and learned. Is a wise reprover to an ear that listens and learns. This is talking about, again, what's valuable. You're talking about two people here that are, in essence, wise. The reprover who is doing it in a thoughtful way, in a way that will be taken seriously, offering uh, admonishment or correction on something, coaching, counseling. For my military folks, counseling session. Maybe not a wall-to-wall counseling session, but you've got that on one side, and on the other side, you have somebody, an ear that listens and learns. That is wisdom and respect and humility. Sit there and listen to somebody correct you. Take what they say to heart. Understand what it is that you're getting, which is wise wise counseling and correction, and apply it. And I think that's why we've got two things here, like an earring of gold and an ornament of fine gold. Like the cold of snow brought from the mountains in the time of harvest, so is a faithful messenger to those who send him, for he refreshes the life of his masters. Yeah. Who's going to send him if you need to get, because what? Post office was not what it is today, which might actually be an improvement. But email, there was no email, there was no post office, that kind of stuff. You sent messengers, and maybe messengers, you'd send a letter with them, but it's mostly on a single sending basis. You're not just putting it in a mailbox and somebody collecting a bunch of mail and sending it wherever. It wasn't that organized. You have a messenger and you send them. If you can trust that messenger to not read it, or to know what you're trying to say, because it might not be a letter, it might be something that you want communicated, and they are relaying the message through their mouth, right, or through some other means. If you can count on that person to deliver it timely when you need it done in the way that you want it done, it is something that is valuable, and how it can keep things, business, family, whatever, running smoothly. Keep quarrels from happening. Create new opportunities. Communication is so important for us as social beings, social people, that making sure that what we're intending to communicate with each other, especially when it's done in a wise way, it's so important that you have somebody you can trust to do that for you. Like clouds and wind without rain is a man who boasts falsely of gifts he does not give. This one hits me to my core, and I'll tell you why. All right. This little pocket I live in, this little area, I have a well. This house has got a well hooked up to its own. So I have to pay attention to how much rain we have had to make sure that I don't need to start rationing the amount of water we use in this house. And trust me, we use a lot of water in this house for how much we're bathing and how much we're washing clothes and washing dishes, how much we're using it to go to the bathroom. A lot of water usage here. And I remember as a kid, my dad freaked out about the same stuff. I always pay attention. How much has it rained in the last week, 2 weeks, month, and so forth? This area is so famous for having spells where we don't get, and especially in the summer, Right around now, we usually getting plenty of rain. In the summer, when it's hot, when you need when you're using water probably more than any other time, and you see and it hasn't rained in a while, it's dusty, because all the dirt roads are nothing but dirt clouds whenever a car drives down them. Your car is dusty. You see those rain clouds roll in, and it's a lot of noise. Maybe hear some thunder, and those clouds will just roll right over and past us. And no rain, not a single solitary drop. And the next zip code over gets 2 inches. It is infuriating and stressful. So I know how this feels. A man who boasts falsely of gifts he doesn't give. If you have somebody who they never back up what they say. They say they're going to do this. Oh, I'm going to give you all this. Blah, 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 blah. Never comes through. Can't count on him. We were just talking about how great a messenger you can count on. We're talking about now somebody who you can't count on to tell the truth. Is just like seeing those clouds of rain come in and be like, all right, I need this rain. It's so good. And then you watch those clouds fall and you're just like, I hate you so much. You fooled me. And we got, and again, the big, so still fair farm, still a bit of a farming community here where I live. And so, you talk to the guys, oh, it's supposed to rain. I'll be like, I'll believe it when I see it. I can see it. We're going to play softball. Oh, it looks like it's going to rain. Don't be so sure about that. I mean, it's probably going to rain just because we've got softball tonight, and it has a tendency to do that. However, so often it looks like it's just like the sky's just going to open up, and it's going to wait about 10 more miles down the road. Infuriating. Can't stand it. So yes, I get this so much. 14 speaks to me. I hate it. I was thinking it when I read it. All right. By patience and a calm spirit, a ruler may be persuaded, and a soft and gentle tongue break the bone of resistance. Now, how you talk to people goes a long way. How do I know this? Because a lot of times I don't know how to talk to people. My friend, Mr. Hawley, who I was actually texting to today, his brother, if y'all see Steve Hawley in the comments from time to time, he watches the show sometimes. His brother said, "Look, Stuart, a lot of times what you say is correct. You just don't know how to tell it to people in a way that makes them want to listen." It frustrates me because I know it's me, right? And I don't know when I'm slipping into that mode where I'm delivering something to somebody that I think they need to hear or need to consider, and I'm not doing it in a way that will make them listen. And he's told that before. Well, I said, Stuart's right. He might not know how to communicate. He might not know how to tell you that in a nice, persuasive way. You're not a very persuasive person. He's blunt. He's a blunt object, but he's right. He's right about what he says. By patience and a calm spirit, a ruler may be persuaded, and a soft and gentle tongue break the bone of resistance. If you know how to talk to somebody, do it calmly, coolly, collectedly, with a little bit of charm, persuade somebody. It's a gift. It really is a gift. It's not just something that you use to be a salesman, right? But sales is persuasion, right? So if you have that gift of persuasion, calming people, putting people in the right headspace to listen to you, you'd be surprised how far that'll go. And if you don't have that, perhaps, maybe me, perhaps you should try working on it. And that's another thing I have difficulty doing, working on that communication. Actually ran into an issue like that today. Have you found pleasure sweet like honey? Eat only as much as you need. Otherwise, being filled excessively, you vomit it. Yeah, just because it's good doesn't mean that you should gorge yourself on it, because too much of a good thing is bad. And you don't want to get sick on it. You don't want to be addicted to it. Enjoy it for what it is. Take it in moderation. And we've talked enough about addiction and stuff like that we're not going to perseverate over that here. Let your foot seldom be in your neighbor's house, or he will become tired of you and hate you. This is not like, if you've got a good relationship and y'all hang out all the time, then great. This is talking about wearing out your welcome. Don't wear out your welcome. Hey, you guys, this is coming from somebody who hangs out with his friends daggone near every weekend. We hang out as a family, but it all starts at, hey, are we getting together? Where are we doing it? What are we doing? We all organize it and everybody's on board, and people are allowed to go out and do their own thing. Everything's voluntary. I mean, give each other grace. And this is us as a very close friendship group. Because you don't want to smother your friends. You don't want them to just be tired of you. You're around all the time. I don't get along with you that much. Start fighting like siblings. Like a club and a sword and a piercing arrow is a man who testifies falsely against his neighbor or acquaintance. To me, that's like, well, obviously, I think this is described in a negative aspect, because this is a violation of of one of the commandments. I think it's the 10th commandment. Don't bear false witness. Like a weapon, like a murder weapon, right? Or a weapon used to assault somebody deeply, to maim them. That's what I think it is. And we don't really need to get into discussion of why that is so reprehensible. Self-evident. Like a broken tooth or an unsteady foot is confidence, an unfaithful man in trouble. Ooh, the broken tooth one sounds painful. The unsteady foot, I feel like, is a better description here. Confidence, an unfaithful man in time of trouble. I can't count on this person. They're going to let me down. I know, in this unsteady foot, I'm going to fall over. I'm feeling really insecure about this whole thing because I can't count on the person I need to do it. Don't be that person. If you know how that feels, don't be that person to people. That used to be a big thing. It was part of your reputation. Be someone to be counted on. Be somebody that people count on. Be there for people. I've done that, unfortunately, to my own how do I want to put it? I've hurt myself doing that, being so eager to be the person that somebody can count on when I could have let somebody else handle it. But I'd rather be the person committing at my peril, at my own peril, than be the person that nobody can count on. Because you don't want friends, acquaintances, anybody to feel like you can't be counted on. that you're a flake, that you're fickle. Really, nobody likes a flake. It is very, very discouraging. It's hard to be friends with them. I had a very close friend that I would describe in that manner. And he's a good guy. I wish nothing but the best for him. But no friend frustrated me more than him. And our friendship suffered a great deal, and we had a falling out, particularly because of him flaking out on something that was very important to me. Like one who takes off a garment in cold weather, or like a reactive, useless mixture of soda on vinegar on soda, is he who thoughtfully sings joyful songs to a heavy heart. You mean something that seems stupid, unwanted? This is about reading the room clearly. If somebody is down after maybe a tragedy, maybe not that they're just depressed because it's been a bad day, but like really going through some stuff, and you come out there bebopping along with your chipper song and trying to cheer them up. They don't want to be cheered up. This is like Job with his friends sitting quietly with him. I don't need you to try to cheer me up. I don't need you to be chipper and singing along and acting like a fool. No. What I just want is your condolences, your understanding, and maybe just your presence. Just quiet. It's not saying anything, but just to know that you're there with me to support me through this loss, through this tragedy, through this pain that I'm going through. Not every time somebody is down is a time to make them laugh. Sometimes they need a hug. Sometimes they just need your support. And a lot of times in those positions, those situations, that person doesn't know how to communicate that. All right. If your enemy is hungry, give him bread to eat, and if he is thirsty, give him water to drink. For in doing so, you will heap coals of fire upon his head, and the Lord will reward you. Kill him with kindness. But seriously, if they hate your guts, well, this is very similar to the turn the other cheek. To me, some people have some different thoughtful interpretations of turn the other cheek, but for this, just remember, God created them too. Unless you're commanded by the Lord to be cruel to them, maybe try to treat them like a human being. And I think that's something where everybody, even us Christians, struggle with the most. And some very blessed people, very good people, are able to make this work for them. That can do this. And I'm not saying it's easy for them. I'm just saying that they have the capability of doing it. It's not easy to be kind or even generous to your enemies, especially if they hate you, especially if they want you dead, especially if they want the worst for you and your family, whatever. But if you see him on the side of the road, you see him down and out, show that kindness. And I think that should be a reminder to us that when we're acting sinfully, we were acting as enemies to God. Does he not still bless us? Does he not look past that when we're down? There's a time for laughing and a time for weeping. That's right. It's time to kill. I always think that when I see about that, when I hear the song, I always think of Samuel L. Jackson. Yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell. The north wind brings forth rain and a backbiting tongue and angry countenance. Yeah. And again, this is one that doesn't need a whole lot of parsing out. Somebody's talking about you behind your back. Somebody who's sowing discord and everything, makes them bitter and toxic. It can also make you very angry. So don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. It is better to live in the corner of the housetop on the flat roof, exposed to the weather, than in a house shared with a quarrelsome, contentious woman. I thought we've already read this before. I know we've read something very similar. But it is better to be out and exposed to the elements on the roof of your house than to be inside the house when your wife, mother, sister, whoever, all they want to do is argue with you and beat you down. So, is it justified? Sometimes it is. Sometimes it isn't. Best thing to do to mitigate that, work on doing the right thing. But just because your spouse is quarrelsome and contentious, doesn't necessarily mean it's your fault. Could be theirs. Depends on the situation. We have scripture. We have the Lord. We have Jesus's teachings. We have the Holy Spirit to guide us in those. We have to be honest about that and patient and willing to listen to what we're taught, what is being communicated to us. Like cold water to a thirsty soul, so is good news from a distant land. This one I don't know as much. Maybe it's just that it's very refreshing. I don't understand it this as much as is the news for you, or is just news about what's going on in a distant land? I don't know. I think mostly to me it's 25 say the same thing in the NIV. Good news from a far country. Don't know. Is it good news unlooked for? Oh, like hearing your trade ships were successful? That's good. It's good. Merchant proverb right there. Yeah, your business caravan was not sunk or attacked. Yeah, your family was having a party and a tornado didn't kill all of them. Your like all the things that happened to Job didn't happen to you and yours. Like a muddied fountain in a polluted spring is a righteous man who yields and compromises his integrity before the wicked. You've heard me rant about this. This is about holding on to your principles. You know what's right. You want to do what's right, and yet you compromise your integrity, compromise your principles because other people don't want to act that way. Don't do it. It's a big problem in the church. It is so disappointing. It is such a letdown to see people who know better, who know what they're supposed to do, who are supposed to be courageous, the most courageous of us, We compromise. We see them compromise, and we compromise, and the people, the flock is compromised. You stop. I hate that. And it is. It's like a polluted spring, call it a poison spring or whatever. Because the moment you stop, moment you stop holding true to your values, the moment you compromise them because you're worried about upsetting somebody, you're worried about pushing them away, they don't care, because clearly they don't care enough about that your principles are important to you. They want you to change yourself and and what you think is right and what you think is good to be what they agree with. They can't coexist with you otherwise. That's a huge problem in this country. That's a huge problem with with Christianity today, where we're so worried about upsetting people and making people leave the church. Dude, what is right, and you should preach on that. And we should reinforce that with the way we live and the way we talk to each other and the way we handle our business. And folks are either going to understand where they might be falling short and they need to change themselves. We have to be that way about ourselves. The expectation has to be universal. If you're not, and you're just so mad you're going to leave, then what are you doing here in the first place? Well, I can't believe that the church hasn't changed with the times on this. Well, yeah, because God is constant truth. The truth doesn't change. Just because society is different. And society has improved in some ways and they've debauched themselves in others. And something that is supposed to be refreshing and life-bringing is now toxic and hurtful because of what we've become. Because instead of standing on what we're taught, instead of being obedient, instead of being faithful, we've now compromised that. And now everybody thinks it's okay. So we don't have the principle anymore. And guys, I try to be introspective about myself. I try to be objective about myself. I know that I'm not perfect at it. And I have friends who have said that, hey, Stuart, we could try to give you some advice here, but I don't think you're going to listen to us. They'll tell me anyway, and I won't agree with them because I don't think that they understand where I'm coming from on an issue. Maybe that's on me. But what has hurt me has been seeing a problem, calling it out, and seeing it looked over. And feeling like principles were ignored. That's how it feels. This is a proverb that touches a nerve with me. Because it erodes so much of what we build. It corrodes it. And it falls to dust. And we have to rebuild. But the problem is so much of us don't want to pretend it's not there. It is not good to eat much honey, nor is it glorious to seek one's own glory. My brother calls it, and I love how he puts it. My brother calls it smelling yourself. And I've talked about that before. He goes, he's smelling himself, thinks he smells great, obsessed with that fact, doesn't realize he's obnoxious to everybody. It's not glorious to taste after it. I don't know about eating too much honey, but I don't know. I can't make that comparison there. I'm sure somebody else can. But we know it's not glorious to sequence on glory. Because it's not glorious to do that, to do it just to get the adoration. It's false at that point. It's cheap. All right, final one. Like a city that is broken down and without walls, leaving it unprotected. It's a man who has no self-control over his spirit and sets himself up for trouble. My Warhammer buddies, my 40K buddies here will understand it. The open mind is like a fortress with its gates unbarred, unguarded. But yeah, you don't protect yourself. You don't set those. You don't have those red lines in the sand. This is where my principles are. This is where they stand. You don't build those walls up for other people talking to you and for yourself. This is it's two-way street. You have these principles up. You don't want to violate them. I don't want to violate them, but are you holding yourself accountable to that? Are you behaving with your principle? Are you having self-control? You're just as bad. All right. That'll do it for tonight. This will be the last stream of 2024. We will convene in 2025 sometime, hopefully this week, hopefully Thursday. But we'll see. Like I said, got a very special guest I'd like to bring on the show, but talk about it then. All right, to Nernaeth, Thad the Man, Alex Moore, Porcupine Mayhem with a new picture. I like it. Bear Attacks. And I think it's just, Nico's the only other. Oh, Serranos was there. Nico. I think that's the group. Thanks for you. Oh, and Jenny here at the end. Yay! Thank you guys. Thank you for another year, another successful year doing this show. Successful in the way I think that, this time with you guys and what we're talking about. Successful in all those things. Thank you for you guys being a part of it. Again, I hope you guys had a great Christmas. I hope that you enjoy the rest of this year and that the 2025 is going to be another banner year for you. Love you great so much. Same thing for you guys who are just listening. Maybe this year you'll comment, but if not, who cares? Well, I care a little bit, but still, just glad you're here. And for everybody catching the show on replay, thank you for watching. Sorry I missed you. Want to catch you live sometime in 2025. Everybody have a good night. Have a good year, and God bless.